It is 6:30. We're going to start with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. Want to welcome everybody. I'm not going to do introductions because there's only Charlie Swan. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We have two people here. Okay, sorry. I forgot. I did see her working nicely. All right. Adjustments to the agenda. We do have two. Can I have a motion?
So move.
And a second? Seeing no comments and questions, we'll do roll call.
Larry, Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Deanna, Angela,
Yes.
Natalie,
Yes.
Ringing. Okay. Consideration of the minutes of the October 25th, 2022 meeting. Could I have a motion, please?
So move.
And a second? Comments, questions, revisions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Larry,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Carl,
Not voting.
Mary Ann,
Not voting.
Deanna, Angela,
Not voting.
Natalie.
Yes.
Okay, public comment. This is the time the public can make a comment. If we have a question, we would have to get back to you. Also, if there's any complaints, we have complaint procedure, which we follow is in policy, or you can email me or ask me what policy. Do we have anybody online with their hand raised? No. Anyone here? Seeing none, communication.
So actually, we have communications this time. We did receive notification that RSU 56 was not selected for the EPA's Clean School Bus Rebate Program. That's the electric bus lottery that we put in for. We did receive notification that the revolving renovations grant pertaining to the high school bathrooms was received by the Maine Department of Education. The selection process and award notification will not happen until February of 2023. And we also were notified by the Homeland Security grant that we did receive our grant for $13,500. And that will allow us to buy door stoppers for our classrooms, and the door stoppers are an added defense in terms of classroom barricades. So those will be ordered. And last but not least, we received a letter from Dr. Charles Swan wanting to thank the board for their support of his pursuit of his doctoral degree in educational leadership with the University of New England. He's now completed all of his courses and has successfully written and defended his thesis. He will be awarded his diploma in February and hopefully participate in graduation in May. After 12 years in his current position, he knows a position that he loves. He felt somewhat professionally stagnant and started this dissertation journey to kick me out of the state of mind. I'm going to read it from his point of view. I found that learning together with other educators around the world helped to both reinforce the good practices that I've been doing while also introducing me to new ideas that I hope will continue to move Derigo Elementary School forward in a positive direction. Again, I appreciate your support and I am thankful for this opportunity.
"12 years goes by quickly, doesn't it? All righty, so that's it for communication. New business. I assume Joy's here to do.
Yes, we have an update on the
After-school
after-school program, the 21st Century Grant at Derigo Elementary School. I'm Joy Mahoney.
Hi, thank you. I met some of you here. I just wanted to say that it's been a great success. We started last summer. And so far we have met all of our academic goals, which is awesome. All of the, and I can go into all the numbers if you want them, or you'll just email it to Kathy. I think some of the best things we did right now was we culminated last year at the end of the year with a community dinner, which we had almost 100% of the parents show up and all their families. The entire cafeteria was filled. The students had handwritten notes to all their parents. We had them preparing the meals. They served the meals and then they helped clean up. So I think that was just a wonderful success. The kids were so excited about doing it. So I'm so excited to see all the parents there. I think it really showed what we're doing. Another thing that was fun this summer, Jim, Mr. H, our music teacher, worked with our summer school students, and he put together, well, the students actually put together a wonderful puppet show. And this goes to helping the students that are really having a delay in speech right now. And because of COVID, all the research is showing that especially like that second, third grade level are really having trouble with the speech and language development. And that was published on the Department of Education newsletter. I can send that link, and it's just a fun little thing you can see with that. We were, in the end of the summer, we were awarded a $36,000 extra for a supplemental grant, and we're using that to increase wages to get staff. And also we purchased cameras for Nick, our, I guess everyone knows Nick, who's going to be teaching photography. So that's been a great thing. He also wants to eventually maybe make it into an adult class as well, offering an adult education class. So I think that's something we can look forward to in the next few years. In terms of the actual numbers, last year we served a total of 92 students, and then 34 were considered I don't know if you know what the regular low performing students are. They have to attend a certain amount of days. It's 30 days. And then, so we had 92, we were supposed to have 70. So we were all right on that, but we were supposed to be having closer to 65 of the regular low performing students on a regular basis. And that's where we fell short on the 34, and serving 55 daily. That all comes down to staffing. It was just, we could not get staffing, and I just did not want to overwhelm our staff at that point. Then this year, however, we are over enrolled. We have 92 students. We have doubled our daily attendance. We're up to about 38 to 40 students a day, which is a lot. It's great, and we're very excited to have it. And with people like Nick, it's been very helpful to have him there, and students love him and all the staff love him. So I do want to say we've already, as I said, we've already come to our goals for the numbers. But it does get back to the staffing. I'm not sure my staff can continue on the way they are. We really need teachers. We need this. The district, part of the grant was that the district would be helping us with classroom teachers. And that's where we are lacking. I have managed to fill all the 21st century positions. I don't know if you realize there's 21st century money that pays for staffing, and then this district should be supplying teachers. And right now we have maybe 2.5 when we should have 4 a day. So that's where we're going to fall short. I really not sure we're going to meet the same kind of academic goals that we did last year. It's just, and it is overwhelming. So I just want you to realize that. I'm still trying to work out what we can do. I am going to work with Region 9 to see what we can maybe help in that direction. So, in terms of the academic stuff, the academic goals, last year we had 35% improve overall in terms of math and language arts. And we had 42% of our regular, what we call regular low performing students that were considered not proficient at all moved to proficient, which is the original goal is 12%. So we really surpassed that. And I think having the small groups and having our groups, our teachers work with that really showed up, made that difference. I mean, to go from 12% to 42%. And we did that both in math and the language arts. And I just, some of the, as I've already discussed, some of the family engagement and education. In the beginning of last year, it was tough. We couldn't always have parents coming in, and we're supposed to meet certain goals with the family engagement. I think with the community dinner, that was great. We also had a summer performance this year with a circus dance that the kids were also performing, and that brought in a lot of parents. So that was a fun hula dance, and we have that all on record too, if anyone would like to see that video. So again, I'm really happy to be doing all this, and I love the students. It's just, as we're all know, teachers are burned out. We could really use some staffing on that point. So, are there any questions? I do have all the report with all the exact numbers and everything, and I can email that to Kathy if anyone's interested in all that. So,
Questions? Go ahead, Bruce.
What are the hours that you run this after school program?
snack usually starts when Charlie dismisses people at about 2:20. And then the academic piece and enrichment starts from 2:45. And we run it till 4:30. And they do have buses that take kids home. So they get snack every day, and then academics and enrichment.
Any other questions? I have a question. I don't know if it's for you, but I think maybe Mary or Pam or Charlie. You talked about that the school, because I know the after-school program was usually based on a grant, and I knew we had to fund some of the transportation. What is it funding the teacher piece? That's the first I've heard of that.
Yep, so the teacher piece is funded out of ESSA 3. That's part of our tutoring money, specifically for the after-school program. And I just want to be clear, we have posted and posted
I
and
know.
posted. It's not that we're not willing to supply the teachers. It's just that we don't have teachers applying to stay and work that out.
Two that I got two to, commit through the end of December, and then they have their own family thing. So I have two December. And at this point, I've talked to my directors at the state level, and they're supposed to be classroom teachers, but we have agreed that ed techs can do it as well. So actually, we have 3 of the ed techs working right now, and they've been fabulous. So.
And my other quick question is, in the past, was it had to be teachers, or is this recently teachers? Because I knew when it could be, I know ed techs used to do it. So I'm just curious, is it more defined in the grant?
I believe it was written in the grant that it would be teachers.
It's like classroom teachers,
Yep.
but as I said, I went last year to my state person, Travis Doty at the DOE, and he agreed that we could get. So that's why I have 3 ed techs right now.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Is this, when you're doing this after school program, it's for the DES, is it specific for one grade, or it's all the grades?
Oh,
or-
it's K through 5. The grant
Okay.
was written for K through 5. It's addressing the learning gap with the students that are considered low performing.
So these students are being told they need to be here? Are they doing this because they want to? I guess I'm trying to grasp on how.
Well, there's a
someone ends
little
up-
bit of both. Yes, we send out invitations. So I send out invitations based on Dr. Jess Swan, Jessica and Charlie, and we figure out the best list of students to invite. This year it was all the Title I students from the summer program. We worked together with the summer program this year, the Title I and summer, so we combined forces, so that was great as well. So we invited all those students. We also invited all the after-school program students from last year. So I didn't expect all of them to want to enroll. So we have quite a waiting list at this point. So and I'm trying to put this, a lot of parents, I think, look at it as more of a, daycare situation, which I don't
Okay.
want, but
Do you find that out of the K to 5, is there a certain grade level that you're finding that you've got more of than others? You talked about 3 at one time. Is that where you have a majority of them from?
usually we have, last year we had a high number of fourth graders and they all returned. Right now, our highest number is fifth graders,
Okay.
because they were there last year. Had some of the other students, Lucas, Lucas Oliver, he was out in the hallway trying to sell the program. I said, Lucas, we can't give out applications to everybody. So as I said, there's a waiting list. It was the students really want to come. It's not that they're being forced.
Okay. Great, thank you.
However, it is, I haven't talked to Charlie about this, but some of the younger kids that are now coming 4 days a week, it's, I think, too much. So we're going to bump them down to 2 days, but so we're going to cut some out. Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you for
Thank you.
coming. If you can send us them links to the puppet and what was the other thing? Yeah, if you send it to Kathy, she'll give it all out to us if thank you. All right, now we have in our folder, Miss Mary will explain it.
So what you each have in your folder is the motion that will have to be read verbatim. This is normally, I come every year to get the approval for the banknote on a bus, but for the last couple of years, this hasn't been done since 2019 because 20 and 21, we just purchased buses with the ESSER money and we didn't have to do the 3-year note. I just want to mention a couple of things that we have approval from the voters to borrow up to $112,000 from the May budget meeting. And that was the quote that Kenny had received at the time. Unfortunately, when we got the actual invoice, it's 125.5. But because we only got permission to borrow 112,000, then that's what the note will be for. And the other 13.5 will have to come out of Kenny's budget, which he's aware of. And the other thing that's different about this particular bus note, normally we don't pay the first payment until the following fiscal year. But because of the way that they set it up now, we will make the first payment in June of 23 and then the following 2 years. So I sent the invitation to bid out to 15 banks. 10 did not respond, but 5 did. And the interest rates ranged from 4.88% to as high as 5.81%. So you have in front of you the vote for First National Bank at the 4.88%. Any questions?
Clarification, when is the first payment?
June of 2023, so it comes out of the 22-23 budget,
So it will be coming out of this year's budget.
correct. And it was built into the budget. So
Okay, all right. Any other, Bruce?
I know we've done this were we at a standstill where we didn't have a payment for a bus? Had we exhausted that because we had waited because we got 2 buses from ESSER, or were we still?
So if we
pattern.
hadn't done this, there would have been just one bus principal and interest payment in the 22-23. Usually there's 3 every
Okay.
year because we just kept doing
Right.
it year after year.
Okay,
So if we hadn't gotten approval to do this, there would have been just 1 in the 22-23 budget. But that would have put a cliff if we had to keep doing it
Right.
again. So
okay,
that's
that's why I
why,
just wondered where we're at. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Mary? Seeing none, I do know, can I get a motion? And it's gotta be the motion that's on the paper. Bruce?
I make a motion, I move that the vote entitled vote to authorize issuance of $112,000 school bus bond be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that the secretary file an attest copy of said vote with the minutes of this meeting.
Could I have a second? Seconded, comments, questions, clarifications? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Larry.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Mary Ann.
Yes.
Deanna.
Yes.
Angela.
yes,
Natalie.
yes,
Dawn.
Thank you. All right, old business. No old business, superintendent's report. Oh, am I passing?
So yes, I'm going to actually scoot right to the Derigo High School report, so you don't have to listen to me too much because I shared all of our communications earlier. So I just wanted to give you an update at Derigo High School. First of all, we'll go over enrollment. And I believe Jared's going to put this up for the people at home. So currently we have 58 freshmen, 58 sophomores, 57 juniors and 57 seniors for a total of 231 students at Derigo High School. That's up from last year at 196. Wanted to let you know what we have offered this year for activity periods. So I'm not going to read all of these to you, but we have chess, we have true crime, ecology. We still have our Gay Straight Trans Alliance Club. We have board games. We have relaxation room. We have war documentaries this year that some students are really enjoying, watching the documentaries and talking about them. And just because I think this is super nice, Art Chamberlain is coming in for the next 6 Thursdays for activity period and offering up wood carving. So he's going to be able to do some wood carving with 8 lucky students who just decided to sign up for that.
Pam, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can they share the screen on the Zoom? So you guys are seeing it on your big screen, but I'm not seeing it on the screen here.
We'll let him work on that. Can you see it, Nat?
Got it. Thank you.
Angela, good?
yep, we've got it.
All right.
Okay, so moving on to chronic absenteeism. We talked about this last year a little bit. So chronic absenteeism is missing 10% of days that a student's enrolled in school. So it fluctuates. So currently when I ran this, 5 days would be the threshold for chronic absenteeism because we've had 50 days of school. So it continues throughout the year, and at the end of the year, it would be 17.5 days. So right now we have 8 freshmen who would be considered chronically absent, 21 sophomores, 16 juniors, and 16 seniors. So the difference between chronic absenteeism and truancy, any absent day is considered under chronic absenteeism. So if you had a student who was out for a medical reason for a week or 2, had COVID, went to the fair to show cows, whatever, they might be excused days, but they're counted under chronic absenteeism. So they add up much quicker than truancy. Truancy is the piece that is a little more challenging in some ways. So truancy is 7 full days of unexcused absences or 5 consecutive school days of unexcused absences. So we have currently 16 students who are approaching truancy. So they received a letter from us saying, please be aware your child is approaching the truancy mark. They've missed X amount of days. And we have 6 students who are actually considered truant already this school year. 3 of them we have yet to see this school year. They're still on our enrollment form. We've made multiple calls, but they haven't decided yet if they're returning or going to drop out of school. So they are currently considered truant. So truant students, just so you know, because they get the approaching truancy letter, then they get a truant letter. They have a, in that letter, there's at a time that they have to come in and meet with us and sit down, talk about a plan for how we're going to move out of truancy and into attendance. And so that's where we are with them at this point. I think it's always important to look at discipline. So in the average referrals per day per month, you can see in September, we averaged just over 1 referral a day. In October, it was just over 2 referrals a day. By location, you can see that the large majority of office referrals come out of the classroom. There've been a couple from the gym, a couple from the cafeteria, art, but mostly they're from the classroom. And when we turn the page, you will see why it's from the classroom, because it seems kind of odd that it comes from the classroom, but it's because they're not in the classroom. The highest issue at Darragh High School by far is skipping classes. This was true, unfortunately, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That's the #1 discipline issue at Darragh High School. We continue to work on it. We've instituted a new process where the first time a student skips, the teacher calls home. Second time a student skips, they send it to the office, I call home, and we start working from there. So we are working on it, but it is a challenging situation. And we have talked a lot about, like, how do we make school more engaging and enticing students to want to be sitting in our classrooms. Unfortunately, that is our #1 problem. You can see referrals by student in the next box. So we have 15 students, which is 6.5% of our whole student body, that have had 2 or more office referrals. We only have 8, which is 3.5%, that have had 3 or more office referrals. So even though it looks like a lot when you look at this referral by day and by problems, though I guess 2 a day isn't really a lot, but it seems like a lot sometimes. It is really the same students. So we're not having, like, we don't have a huge problem. And when you look at the behavior triangle, when you think about 90% of your students should be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we're way above that. Like, we're not in a crisis point by any, I don't want anybody to think that we are by looking at these numbers. Like, most of our kids are doing just what they need to do when they're at Darragh High School, which is outstanding. And we are working with those other 15. Yeah, they're just code numbers. Yeah. Yeah, no. No, you won't figure them out. They're just number. So that one in the third box there, that one, that's for Carl. No. They're just code numbers. Yep. They don't mean anything for, in terms of the graphing for us. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So the next part of this is, I just want to give you an update on who's taking advanced classes. So we had 1 junior and 4 seniors take summer college classes for the total of 5. In this first semester, we have 1 junior and 1 senior in a college course for 2. We have, in advanced courses, we have 46 in the freshmen, plus 3 from the middle school that come up and join that class for advanced math classes. We have 42 sophomores, 14 juniors, and 7 seniors for 109 students taking advanced courses. And you think again that we have 231 students and we have 109 of them taking advanced classes. I'm pretty proud of that fact. AP courses, we have 1 sophomore, 10 juniors, and 4 seniors for 15. And students who are taking dual enrollment. So dual enrollment means they're enrolled in a class here and it counts as a college course and as a high school course. We have 22 sophomores, 7 juniors, and 24 seniors for 53 students taking dual enrollment courses. And I also wanted to give you an update on Region 9, because this is equally as important. We have 6 students in automotive 1, 5 in culinary arts 1 and or 2, early childhood 1 and 2. We have 3, metal trades 3. Won't go through all of them for you, but we have a total of 38 students who attend Region 9. That was a question. And on the back, I just wanted to give you an update for the chess club because last year, if you know, I came to you and I asked if I could use the money for math team and redistribute it to a chess club team. So they have been meeting during activity play period. They went to their first chess meet ever up to Hamden, and every competitor from Darrigo High School who won at least one match. So we have a good start to our chess club. And I think it's really important because Joe usually keeps you up to date on sports, and I know Mr. Carvis is coming next time. So I also wanted to tell you about our speech and debate club. So they've had 2 tournaments or 2 meets thus far this year. The first one was live. So that's the first one since February 2020 that they had a live meet. And Alyssa Kutcher earned first place in original oratory speech. Junbei Chen earned 3rd place in poetry. And then Jocelyn Ridley and Daisy Sweat finished 4th and 5th for a overall 3rd place team finish. And then this past weekend, they had a virtual meet. So they were here at Darrigo High School while they were competing. And yes, by the way, they prefer them in person. So the rest of them are in person, I believe. But Alyssa Kutcher finished 2nd in her original oratory competition, and June May won 1st in poetry, and combined, they won a 3rd place team sweepstake trophy. So they're doing very well. Any questions?
Go ahead, Larry.
What's the difference between advanced courses and AP?
So advanced courses, I'm gonna get this right. They are faster paced and they move further. And then AP, they able to take the AP exam to get college credit. So advanced classes kind of prepare them to go into the AP classes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bert.
So I'm gonna start on the front page when you talked about how many kids that you have in each class. And then you move forward and you said how many are having chronic absentees. The chronic absentees, are they still performing and staying above water, or are we having some other pie graph that we should have that's showing that?
So I did not correlate their grades to their absenteeism. I certainly can do that for my next time around. It is kind of a mixed result. There are some kids that can miss school fairly regularly and still keep up with their work and do okay. And then a large portion of the kids who are chronically absent struggle because they're not getting the lessons in the classroom and they do get behind.
It'd be interesting to see.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Looking at the seniors, I saw that AP, they only had 4, but then I see the dual and then they have only 7 in advance. Is it because they're favoring the dual course? Because I know it used to be the trend. I did it all in junior year. Now I can slide by. Or are they feeling that the dual course gives them a better, well, they're actually getting credit. They can but it's not an easier way, but more assured way.
So that's exactly the case. When you take an AP class, you take it and then you have to take the AP exam. And depending on how you score on the exam, you can get college credit. When you take a college class, you do the work all along and you pass it and you automatically get college credit. So taking the dual enrollment courses, sometimes the classes, I don't even know. I'm not going to put Joe on the spot, but he probably can tell you if there's a difference between an AP and a dual class. But I think that as long as you do your work in that dual enrollment class and you get a passing grade, you don't have to take like an exam to get your credit. You automatically get your college credit.
Saying that, but it gives it, because you're doing it all at once and not, because AP government used to be half a year and then you try to take the test and you haven't had it since fall. It was a crapshoot. Any other questions for Pam? Seeing none, keep going.
So I will move along to let you know that Alexis Holman has been hired for a special education ed tech 3 at the middle school. And I also want to report out a bunch of coaching positions. So Nicole Whitus will be the basketball junior varsity girls coach at the high school. And other high school coaches that have been hired: basketball varsity coach, Cody St. Germain, basketball junior varsity coach, Nathan Schultz, basketball varsity girls coach, Reggie Weston, ski head coach, Nordic, David Buck, winter cheering head coach, Amy Jo Greco, wrestling head coach, Dana Whittemore. And at the middle school, varsity boys basketball, Gavin Arsenal, basketball junior varsity boys, Cole Brown, varsity girls basketball, Kathy Crutchfield, basketball JV, Amy Chassen, ski head coach, Nordic, Carolyn Biot, head coach for wrestling, Bryce Whittemore, assistant coach, Dana Whittemore. And then I have 2 resignations that came in. Paul Kurdzewski, he's the technology specialist at Derigo Elementary School. If you recall, he had been deployed, so he was on leave. He was back briefly and talked to Brian and I, and unfortunately, he's being deployed again. And his deployment, basically, when he finishes his deployment, the ESSER money will have run out because he'd be back at the same time. So we felt like it was best to resign and let us fill it with somebody that could be here during that time. Tracy Clucci, special education ed tech 3 at the middle school. I don't think she'll mind me saying she just had a grandbaby, so she's resigned and she's going to play Grammy.
Any questions for Pam?
Tuesday, I think it's just their meeting.
That's Dawn, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Committee reports. You got it.
All right, so the main thing for tonight is athletics. I believe the Derigo field hockey team went to regionals for the first time in over 25 years. And the Derigo football team hosted regional finals for the 2nd year in a row. Neither teams brought home the win, but it was a great game on both sides. And MVC Fall All-Stars were released. We have a total of 36 students at Derigo High School. And that's a mix between sports all-star and academic all-star, where if you play a sport and your GPA is, I believe it's above 93, and that's a cumulative GPA. And I won't go through each team, but I believe a vast majority of our Derigo teams are represented on the all-star list.
Can I just repeat that? 36 Derigo High School students were selected for this. Remember, we only have 231 to begin with, and this academic first and second teams is pretty amazing that our students are being selected for that. Not surprised about the academic athletes.
Any questions? Seeing none? Policy committee. Well, we met today and we had an agenda just going over 3-1. One was the administering medication to students. We had got back what the nurses needed to add, and we'll be having a first reading on that. We had reworked the student use of cell phones, and so we'll have a first reading on that. We had that discussion. And then when I had the Zoom meeting for the delegation, there is a new updated public participation at board meetings. So we discussed the current sample. We discussed also what recommendations we have, but we also need some guidance from the whole board because, you know, we discussed as a whole board, we're very good at listening. I think people, even if we disagree with them, have said we're very good at listening. We're respectful. We listen to them. But like the last meeting did go on, you know, we're here at 9:30, and anyone knows, especially the ones that work all day or any of us, we get tired. So when I went to the conference, I even asked the legal people, okay, when the state went and said public participation, they didn't define public. They don't define this. They don't define that. And I found talking to other board members in administration, everybody does it different. We discussed doing a timeline for the whole time It could be a half hour, could be an hour for public, meaning that would be allocated time for that. And the lawyer did say there are circumstances which us old people remember when like they tried to allocate the schools. We had a whole group of people here and we had to sign things and it was an agenda. When there's a very important cause which needs to be heard, then you're really more formal, getting a list and things. So we discussed, well, what would be a timeline? I do know RSU 10 does 3 minutes. Some do 5, we discussed 10. I do know it talks about having a sign-up list. And which would we would know, say, okay, this person signed up, they came to the meeting and it would be just, not so specific, something what topic they want to talk. So I would get an idea, the board chair would get an idea, how many want to talk. Because even in the new policy, it says you want to make sure people that want to talk have that opportunity. So we felt, and Pam, you had it, specific.
Sorry, I'm texting Brian. You could ask Jared to mute Don.
Oh, all right, because I knew it would be. So the committee felt we should get an idea of what timeline per person. Years ago, we even used to have a nice little pamphlet, which I can find somewhere, that talked about public participation and, what is it that you can and can't do. And that's why the lawyer did recommend that, to everyone, remind people that there is a complaint process and that complaint process is not a public participation at a meeting, especially for an employee or a board member. That's not the case of where you do it. We have specific protocols and procedures and policies for that. I don't know. I know you had a list of what we were looking for from the board. If you probably remember it, you're good.
I do. So when the policy committee met, they wondered about a sign-up sheet with a 5-minute limit and a total of 60-minute time for public comments. And they did talk a lot about like at that 5 minutes, give them at 3 minutes, give them a 2-minute warning so they know what's coming down. And then the board chair having a little leeway, like if they're still making new germane points, we don't want to cut anybody off. But if they're starting to repeat themselves at 5 minutes, then the 5 minutes is up and we move forward. But the policy committee felt like it should come to the full board because it's a pretty important thing. We want to hear from our communities. We want to know what they're thinking and feeling. So we don't really want to cut them off, but we also don't want to be here at 10:30 at night. So doing board business. So I think they were looking for the board to give some direction on the time frames and what you thought would be most appropriate.
Go ahead, Bruce.
No, I don't want to start. My concern was that we have people who get into a long story. I want to see public comments being someone that if you're going to make a public comment, have it so that you've got a precise content of what you're asking or want to suggest. As we've always said, public comments are public comments. We don't want to hear a complaint about a person or anything along that line. The second thing is that we want to make sure that if we're doing public comments and we're allowing 5 minutes, that doesn't mean that the same person can come up 10 times. So we want to make sure that we allow other people to talk. And if you're allocated one spot, that's what we want to do. So we want to try to make it so that we have input from the public. We have fair and equity to it. Again, like Pam said, if someone was in the middle of something, we're not going to cut them off. But we want to, our role here is to go through our agenda. And our role here is to oversee everything that's going on to this district. And we don't want to get sidelined by a long off agenda of public comments that can really consume a lot of our time.
Anyone, because we know, because it will be our time, so I really need, if you have, or your
I have a-
thought process. Natalie?
Sorry, I just had a question. How would the sign up sheet work with participation from online audience members?
Question. Brian, you have any ideas? Because they put their hand up, but they don't put their hand up till we get there.
We could send a chatting.
Okay. It would be at the door, like we used to have remember, we used to have the agenda, which is up there. So we could have it right next to the thing and to give the time to, I mean, it doesn't need to be, but it gives us an idea of how many and what items, say if we have 7 people for one thing, and then, you know what I'm saying? Everybody does it different. Lawyers say, well, do this, but give them time anyways, when it's something really significant. So there's not any, because if it's a major issue, like some do, Oxford Hills had a separate meeting. When we had the big one, we had 300 people here. People were assigned that spoke for the group. We've had it before when another time JV sports, they came and they were prepared and we had assigned people. So it's hard to figure out, but I do know all across the state, it's an issue. It's an issue of, and thank God, most of our people we've listened respectfully and we have expectations that people are respectful. Because there's some horror stories out there that people have yelled and screamed, and they've had to call the police, and so and it's basically the local, right now until the state defines public, what is it we want to see to be done?
I guess
Mary
I'll
Ann?
chime in.
Oh, wait, go ahead, Natalie, sorry.
I guess I'm not as inclined to work with the sign up sheet because I do think in the era of online participation, I'm one that utilizes that pretty heavily given our family situation at the moment. It might be a little bit more difficult to monitor that and manage that. And honestly, I think typically if there's a large turnout, we usually know what the issue is. Usually there's a particular, whether it's a budgetary issue, whether it's a policy issue, like generally there's a turnout and we kind of know, and it's a group of people that have an opinion one way or the other on whatever that issue is. So I guess I'm not as worried about that. I don't mind the idea of a time limit. I think that it can help keep people focused so that we don't have a lot of repetition of the same points. But I do want to make sure that the time limit is long enough that everyone feels heard and they have the opportunity to make the key points that they want to bring forward. So I know it was mentioned that some other districts maybe use 3 minutes. I probably would think that maybe we should do a bit longer. Somewhere 5 to 8 minutes, maybe 10 probably seems a bit long. So I guess I'd be inclined for that 5 to 8 minute range. Again, using that as a guideline and using discretion so that if someone is in the middle of making, key points and they haven't been repetitive, that we give them the opportunity to finish their statement. But at the point where it becomes repetitive and someone's exceeded their time, that we ask respectfully that they cede their time and make sure that we have a chance to hear from everybody that has feedback so that we have the opportunity to hear everyone.
Mary Ann?
So just two things, and I was thinking about what I am. I was just thinking about what Natalie just said about an online platform with the handwritten, like it might be difficult for people to be able to, you know, sign up. Then we might have to come up with a better way for those who are online to want to be able to, you know, have their time. It is public. If we hold it at, and moving on to my second point, if we hold it at an hour total and we give each person 5 minutes, if it's a controversial or big issue of the day, that's 10 people. We generally don't have more than that, but we may. And so my concern is the sign-up sheet versus how many people are here and not giving everybody the opportunity to speak. And I'm sorry, the third point is if we're looking at this policy and you said, who is public? We've had people ask, I pay taxes in Dixfield, but I don't live here. Who might then have the opportunity to speak? Are we going to change that policy from those who live in the district or to all people who pay taxes here?
We did discuss that because in one part of the policy, wait a minute, let me get the right one, sorry. It says on A, I think. Members of the public and the school unit employment are welcome to participate as provided in this policy. And of course, individual employees, employee groups can't discuss grievances or complaints like anyone. It doesn't say the resolution tried to limit and it didn't, but our past practice has been public comment when it was made. The intent was for the public of our district. So it's up to the board, but because public comment is for the reasoning they put, which the law said is shall provide the opportunity for the public to comment on school and education matters at a school board meeting. Nothing in this restricts school boards from establishing reasonable standards for the public comment period, including time limits and conduct standards, which is what we do, conduct standards. A school board meeting means a full meeting of the school board, does not include meetings of subcommittees, meaning if we're in a committee meeting, no. If we're in a full, if we're doing what is the definition of a full meeting? We had that discussion before, because when we had a special meeting, Pam went with what past practice we did. And that was, we had public comment, but I know we didn't, sometimes we did and sometimes we didn't. So we discussed that a little bit. Okay. It said the chair may limit the time allotted for comments or on a particular topic, and the time for each individual to speak. In the sizable audience, the chair may require persons interested to speak to sign up, so they may be called in a very efficient manner. But that was probably not thinking about Zoom, you know, which we do have. And I think it's fine not having a sign-up sheet. And they got to recognize no gossip, defamatory comments, abuses of vulgar, the address, we may say we do not engage, no complaints or allegations or against particular students. And we discourage, see, it just says duplication or repetition of comments to the board. If there's groups or organizations, that's why we did designated spokesperson. And of course, we can stop if it violates any of our things. So it's basically, which everybody does it different. I will say that. I did not find anybody specifically, even though the lawyer recommended, they say do a timeline, but remember, if it's a thing, a very controversial issue, make sure you give them time. You may change it. Even that you give them the opportunity to speak, but you kind of warn them. And so it's basically what do we want to do for ours? I am hoping that they address this and tidy this up, because this has been very ambiguous.
I just think things need to be better defined if this is going to be part of what we do for a board, whether it's controversial or not, just any other board meeting. I just think we need better definitions so the public and
Well,
we know.
okay, well, right
what to
now,
do.
I followed the current policy which is residents and the employees and this. So I followed the current policy, which was only a year old before this one came out. So I mean, I followed what we had approved. I think we've been very consistent with that. There's been no, okay, I let you speak. It's been what was in the policy. And then the discretion of the chair, if a person is not being respectful or not, going off on a trend that they can't be. So we still, the committee would like, I don't think we can be specific, because I can see the list, because what you said was Zoom. And I don't know what people feel with an hour and whether it's 5 to 8 minutes, but we need, it would be nice to have some guidelines if we're going to put time. And as far as that public one, that's on the interpretation of everyone in the state. So any other comments or questions, please? Okay, thank you, Angela.
No, I just wanted to say, based on that, I think the 5 to 8 minutes is a good guideline. And I think generally we do have an hour would be the maximum on any other normal evening for public comment. And I wouldn't get as specific as maybe saying you have to be a taxpayer, because we do have people that rent in town that don't pay taxes to the towns necessarily. So maybe either a resident or a taxpayer, something along those lines, but that's all that I had to comment on that part of it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any new ideas, different ideas, Bruce?
My last one would be that I'm not really, and like I said, with being on Zoom, in favor of any type of a sign-up sheet, because I think that even if you have a sign-up sheet and you get partway into public comments and someone wants to put the hand up, you're gonna say, oh, sorry, you're not on the sheet. So I would probably shy away from looking at a sign-up sheet, but I would look at, again, we would make this policy as guidelines of what we're going to do, what we're trying to get things kind of under control. But any situation can have extenuating circumstances, have somewhere in the policy that will, there will be, for discretion of the board chair, that you could extend it. If someone halfway through their comments, you're not gonna say, oh, 30 seconds, too bad, we're gonna let them finish up. But the thing is that, again, we need to be well aware as a board that we have a lot sometimes on our agenda, and it can start getting to 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it's getting to be a long board meeting.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think we have some direction. And so Finance Committee.
There's a tentative meeting scheduled for 11/18 at 2 p.m. However, Angela isn't able to attend because she's during business hours. So I'm not sure if that's still happening.
Thank you. Curriculum?
We have a meeting on Tuesday, December 13th at the library at the high school.
Thank you. Buildings and grounds,
We have not met.
negotiations are off for the year.
You got it.
Personnel committee,
We had a meeting last week, last Tuesday, and it was our first meeting that we've had in a while. So with a few new committee members, we took a few minutes just to talk about the role of the personnel committee, mainly in working on job descriptions and in serving on interview committees. Talked a little bit with Pam about our process for interviews. So when an administrator is scheduling an interview, they'll email the personnel committee chair, myself, board chair, Barbara, and also our personnel committee members to see who would be available to sit in. And we're going to try to get as much advance notice as we can. But I think if we put it out to the full committee at the time that the interview is being scheduled, that we'll have a good opportunity to make sure that we have a board member that participates in each of the interview processes. And it also won't fall all on one person, that we'll be able to spread that responsibility a little bit. We had a little bit of discussion about process for exit interviews. There was a question about whether or not the district was conducting exit interviews, either at the time an employee moved on to another position or in the event of a retirement. And when we found out that we weren't doing that currently, had some discussion and thought that that could be a very beneficial process. So we talked with Pam a little bit about what that might look like and what that process might entail. She's going to put together kind of a sample Google form. We'd like to look at an electronic form that's used that would be completed by the employee and then returned to HR and reviewed by the administrators. So our hope is to have an exit interview process in place for this coming spring. We also talked about a new job description, one that would be for a learning facilitator. And really this is coming about because it's getting more difficult to hire ed tech 2s and 3s. And so we're looking into the opportunity to add a learning facilitator job description that would kind of serve as a stopgap and allow us to bring someone on who maybe doesn't have the certification for ed tech, but could work towards that certification as a learning facilitator, get certified, and then come in as an ed tech. So that's being reviewed right now with the DEA, and I think there may hopefully be some more news on that moving forward. And then we just had a few other little things that we talked about in terms of reference checking and job descriptions. So the minutes for the meeting were emailed out, and if there are any questions, just let me know and I'm happy to try to answer them.
any questions? Okay, ad hoc committee,
We have met a couple of times, but I have multiple children that decided to get married this fall, and I've not been able to make it to either of those meetings. We are meeting again on December 1st, which is the first Thursday of the month, which we generally do at the library at the high school also. My last wedding is this weekend.
I see we added a new committee report, Region 9.
Do you want me to explain why this is here? So I guess I would just say I was surprised to find out that it was a referendum vote for Region 9's additions, and I didn't know anything about it. So when we met with Brenda, we talked about like we needed to make sure this is getting reported out, at least at our board level meetings, so that people know about it. And Bruce was actually at a Region 9 meeting and he messaged me and he's like, hey, can you add Region 9? I just did, already did. So I think Bruce is going to be our person, even though Angela, I think, attends as well. But I think it's just going to be important for communication purposes so that we just know what's going on at Region 9 and that we don't get surprised with a $5.3 million referendum vote that we didn't know about until the last minute. So, and I agree. And I think it came about because it happened quickly, just like a lot of things, the date comes up and you decide to put in for it and it comes out.
Before you said, you weren't the only one. I sat at the Augusta next to, Murphy, what's his first name? Dave. He had no idea till he saw it in the newspaper, and neither did Deb. So, when the superintendents, and I had no idea, our own board had no clue. So it's like, okay, and that's what I actually was thinking, and I forgot to tell it to you. So, all right, Bruce.
So our newest committee is getting a report of Region 9, and I've been on the Region 9 board for, I've lost how many years. I've been doing it for a few years as a representative of 56. I'm going to try to give you kind of a little bit of potpourri of how it's done and what goes on with Region 9's board. We meet once a month, usually the first Wednesday of every month. And it's like a regular board meeting like we see here. There's an agenda that we go down through. There is a list of people that are on the board. Angela is another representative from our area, from our district here, as well as this, and a couple other ones that are from, another one from the Dixfield or the RSU 56 family. Usually we'll go through, we have the same thing. We have our own type of finances that we deal with. A lot of times people have asked questions of, they know if they've dealt with the school, they see how the school is, how we go through our finances, how we go through putting things together and everyone's wish list. And then it comes down to, we put everything together and it goes, then the final thing, it goes to the towns for a vote, versus everyone says, well, I never see Region 9 on a vote when I'm going to the ballot. Well, if Region 9 is by state allocations, have their own state subsidies, and Region 9 is being a tech school, CTE, their voting is done by a town vote. And it's not something that we came up with. This is something that the state says that this is how it's done. So every year when we get through and do our whole budgetary thing and we present it to a town vote, and it's voted by the townspeople at that meeting. So it's a total different way of how things is set up to do for budgetary reasons. As you can see in Pam's report, that we have a good group of kids that go from our school here to Region 9, and you can see that there's a lot of programs available at Region 9. You can pretty well explore whatever options you want with the programs that she explained in her report. There's a lot of things that are available. I mean, that these students would not be able to attend or do in a regular high school setting. So this school is very valuable to expand and allow kids other opportunities that they wouldn't be able to get in their own ascending school. The Region 9 supports both 56, RSU 10, and the Bethel area. And then we have a few kids that have come from, I think it's Upton, Hanover. I think Hanover is still part of 10. Upton, oh, there's a couple other ones, Andover. And there's a couple other things that there's small little ones that attend into our thing. Now, to bring up the one key thing is that everyone talked about is no one knew about this referendum vote that is on the ballot for this voting that everyone has hopefully had a chance to go out and vote. But this referendum vote was a grant that became available. And unfortunately, it's one of these things that we ended up putting the cart before the horse, as the old scenario goes, because this grant came available that we needed to apply for. Had no idea whether we would be approved for it. You have 20, either 4 or 6 CTE schools that were going to be applying for this grant money. When you apply for this, it's like any grant, you need to fill out all the forms, do all the correct things in line, and submit the grant. We had done all this. We allowed our director to go through. Each part of the grant had to have a dictation of what the grant money is going to be done. We came up with 3 different funds that we were looking at, or I should call them projects. One of them was to establish a 4-season outdoor education center. The second project was to provide a classroom and lab space for our welding program. And the third one was a classroom, kitchen / market / greenhouse area for our culinary arts. These programs in this Region 9 have just been exploding. I mean, we have kids from two different parts of the programs getting into welding. When you have 3 or 4 little slots and you've got 22 kids, guess what? There's not a real lot of welding being done by a lot of kids. So there's a lot of demand for a lot of hands-on things and allowing these projects to move forward. The nice thing with this grant money is that there was roughly about, I'm gonna come up, I want to say it was close to $22 million that was available. And we put in our grants, and this is grant money. This is no asking that the towns come up with any additional amounts. But our grant that we put in was for close to $5.5 million. And in hopes that we would get maybe 1, maybe 1.5 or 2 or something towards it. And the grants approved all 3 of our programs. Now, most people say, well, we heard nothing about it. Well, the problem is that how could you report on something that you're going to get grant money for when you just found out 3 weeks ago that you got the grant money? At our last board meeting, we didn't know whether we were going to get it all. So, and unbeknownst to me, I wish I would have, again, could back up 3 or 4 meetings ago and started a Region 9 report on committees. You're going to hear from me probably every other meeting. Usually, like I said, we only meet once a month, so I'm not going to go in the next meeting report on something that I've already talked about. But this grant is an opportunity for this school to expand itself. Most people have asked, well, what are you going to build another building? The answer to that is we don't know. No, we aren't going to build a whole new facility. Are we going to add on to it? Are we going to put something different for a lab for welding? We don't know that answer. There's a lot of unknown of how it's going to be used. But what we know is that it would all be on that site. It would all allow us to expand the school. And the nice thing is that this grant is, again, it's all grant money. We aren't looking at having this start out the project and say, oh, we need to go to the ascending schools or the ascending towns and say, we need some more money for this. This grant had to be figured out so that we had it right down to what it's going to cost us to do. This is what we applied for, and we got approved for it from the state. And if the 16 towns that are involved in this all agree to this, we will be allocated this money. And we have, I think, 2 years roughly to project, to go through and do these projects. And again, it would be no additional cost to the towns. But what it would do to these towns is expand these courses and these programs in this CTE school. So it is a win-win thing. And right now, anyone that I've talked to have been really good support of saying, wow, we didn't know about it. Well, we wouldn't know about it until we got the answers. You can't go out and start, giving everybody a drive of, oh, vote for this project. Well, did we get granted? Oh, we don't know yet. So it was kind of a frustrating thing for me as a person to look at this and saying, it would have been great if I would have known this, 30 days ago. I would have been presenting this at our last meeting. Even if it wasn't on there, I put it in my board member comments. I would have let everybody know what was going on, but we just found out. So it was not being secretive. We weren't trying to cover or mask anything. I'm being as transparent as I can about the referendum that we have out. Again, it is all grant money. And a lot of people, every once in a while, you get the comment of the same thing we got when this RSU 56 got the SF money. Well, if we don't take it, it will go back into the pot and it will reduce things. The answer to that is no. What will happen is that if the towns decide to turn down the referendum, the money would go back into the pot, and the other schools that didn't get their wish lists will get their wish lists. So this money will be spent, but unfortunately it would not be spent in our area. And we have a beautiful opportunity to expand these programs and award this money to this Region 9.
Angela, do you have anything to add?
No, I fully support everything that Bruce said, and I was actually just looking at my meeting minutes to see when it was. I mean, it was I think it was a Thursday in the morning that we got, I don't know if it was last Thursday or not, but we signed all of the referendum paperwork our last meeting, just in hopes that we did get chosen for it. And we knew we wouldn't know until right before voting day today, and we just found out, I think it was last Thursday that we found out that we were actually approved for it and were chosen to be one of the 4 that would be granted the funds. So I agree with Bruce completely. It wasn't anything that we were trying to hide or anything like that. It was, we just didn't know if we were going to be approved for it. I mean, just the opportunity that we've got to be awarded those funds is huge in itself. And it's a really wonderful school for people to go to and get those technical skills that a lot of people deserve and need now. So I really hope that it goes through.
So if we're gonna add this to the agenda, and I think one thing that would be really good besides having a committee report on it is also having, because it is public knowledge, the minutes. If the minutes from the Region 9 board could say, go to Kathy, and then we could see it as a whole group, then we would be aware of what is happening. You know, it's just like we have our minutes from our committee meetings and we know, okay, well, this is going on. I mean, they're FYI, just letting us be aware of anything that's going on. It's, you know, it's better communication for us to support, you know, what is going on. Not that I didn't support it, but like any board, when we see something from the newspaper, I'm going, oh, wow. Okay, not that you're awarded, that you're even thinking about it, because, you know, like you said, we want to be able to support things and know, because knowledge to the community is the best thing we can do. And we just talked about public participation and trying to be very transparent and communicative to the public. I think it would be great to know, so we're aware of what's going on. And, you know, just the little things and the highlights, because it is an excellent program.
I mean, it would be very easy to, when next time Pam sends an email to Brenda and say, when the minutes are completed, can you forward them to, whether you want to go to Kathy or to whoever, that's no problem, because these are public meetings. I mean, anyone is able to attend. We've passed on before, and I'm saying it to all these board members that we have here. Anytime you ever want to come to attend or see what a Region 9 meeting is like, more than welcome. I mean, we're usually a very short meeting. It's a very small agenda. We are no longer not like anything that would take up a lot of time. It's a really neat little school. I mean, I was pretty fascinated when I first started into the directors, and it's a nice thing to, it's amazing what this school offers our students in this community. And you think about it, you talk to anyone who has had a child that has utilized this, they would be just so well supported.
All right, thank you. Board member comments. I'll just comment on I didn't go to the field hockey because it was 3 o'clock away and I was here and I was in the booth at the football, but it was a very exciting time for the kids and so proud of them. The cross country, you know, the kids running in states. Our kids, you know, I see a lot of them when they come to eat because they like to eat. So it's just great to see the kids, and it's exciting to hear, you know, what classes they're taking and things. So we do have a lot of great kids. Any other board member comments? Bruce?
I just want to follow up. It was amazing to see how large of a community turnout we had at that football game. I mean, it just shows you that how many people support the school, and you can't ask for anything better than to see a person there, grandparents, even people who, gee, I'll use myself as an example. My children have graduated years ago, but I still enjoy going to games and watching our kids and see what's going on. And it's amazing to see so many people, and you get to talk with so many people. It's just a nice, warm feeling. And plus the weather was great.
Was, thank gosh. Any other board member comments? Seeing none, we have no executive session. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Larry, Bruce, Tim, Barbara.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Mary Ann, Deanna, Angela, Natalie,
Yes.
Dawn. Okay.
Good night.
Bye, guys.